Welcome to this presentation of the Rotary Club of North Bethesda, Maryland, USA. Our club was established in 1974. We meet every Friday morning at 7:45 a.m., and we often invite guest speakers to give presentations on all kinds of interesting subjects. Please contact us through our website at nbrotary.org. And thanks for watching. Our speaker today is North Bethesda Rotary Club member David Fitzwilliam. He will be speaking to us about monopolies in American history.
Dave, in a previous life, was a naval officer, and he was a top salesman at IBM. What you may not know is that he is a voracious reader of history, and he will tell us some about what he's found that's relevant to today.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk about monopolies. And the
game?
monopoly, yeah, not the game. No, not the game.
Not the game.
Monopolies, the current monopolies are Facebook, Google, and Twitter, and they've exercised political pressure, and I'm going to compare them to the monopolies of 1903.
Could I make a comment? Can you restrain the political comments?
I'm going to give you a lesson in history.
Okay, keep it to the history.
And I'm going to tell the truth.
Or wait, that's all.
This book, The Bully Pulpit, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, by Doris Burns Goodman. Excellent book. It's a recent book. It's over 800 pages, and it's from this, I'll give you the comparison between the current monopoly and the monopolies of 1903, when Teddy Roosevelt was in office for 2 years. They both exercised political power, and they did it for two reasons. One, and the current ones, to support the Democrats, and to maintain their monopoly maintenance. For instance, I want to talk about Twitter first. Twitter, Trump was successful in getting his message out through Twitter, and and finally, the Twitter said you can't use it. Now they can't be sued. They're public. They're like a public utility. And so Trump in July of this year came out with a class action suit that involved 65,000 people. And we saw the result of that on this past Monday when Jack Dorsey, the CEO, resigned. And another thing that's happened recently is on Facebook. The Brits have sued Facebook for Facebook bought a company called Jiffy, Giphy, which was a competitor in the advertising market, and where we can't sue, Americans can't sue, the Brits can. Okay, so now I want to compare it now with the monopoly of 1903. The monopoly was John D. Rockefeller. He was the biggest. And J.P. Morgan and lesser so Cornelius Vanderbilt. J.P. Morgan, was banker. His father was a banker, and his father was located in London, just set up the Brits loaning money, financing clients in the United States. And in 1901, they formed U.S. Steel Corporation, and Andrew Carnegie retired. He was the richest man in the world as a result of this transaction. And he spent the rest of his life giving it away. Primarily, he built libraries on the condition that the library, the locals would support the books and maintaining the libraries. And he did thousands of them. But this company the employees in building steel, his employees had 12 hours days. They were paid in script, and they were given a house to live in. And they tried to organize, and there was shootouts and so on. So, and it was a time when the Democrat Party was mainly Southerners. They were farmers, and they were laborers. So Carnegie, and he supported all the former employees. The monopoly, Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, was the principals. It's just the same thing, to maintain them maintain a monopoly and and political. The political, they gave, it was primarily Rockefeller, big time Rockefeller. He gave a huge amount of money. It's like $500,000 or something. And it was, we had many newspapers, but they tend to be local, and some in effect was it was a lock-in for the Republicans. But in the current monopolies, Newt Gingrich has predicted that, and he's pretty good in that. He predicted that the Republicans would pick up between 40 and 70 House seats, and that they'll pick up at least four Senate seats. And so in 2023, the Facebook and Google, and Twitter are going to a lot of scrutiny. Back to the 1903. It was Teddy Roosevelt came from a lot of money, and people from the money, they didn't get into politics. But Teddy was a reformer. So he, at his 23 or thereabouts, ran for and was a couple of in the New York State Assembly. He was really shaking him up. And we had this established politicians. They were corrupt, and here's this young guy. And he went to when he was head of police in New York City, and he would go out, check, go out with the police and reform that. And he I do some on 98. Before that, he was Assistant Secretary of the Navy. And the Secretary of the Navy was an old guy who was gone all the time. So he pretty much Teddy kind of took over the show. And he had the rain that blew up in the Savannah Harbor there. And so he sent admiral in charge of all the Navy civilians, sent them over to Japan. And all the Europeans with their navies, but they had they had colonies, and they would use them as, ships ran on coal, and so Teddy Roosevelt had to buy Philippines. And, so he sent this admiral's fleet out. They went out to Hong Kong, or Japan, or something. And then he told them to attack Philippines. The Philippines were part of the Spanish Empire. But they had a bunch of old battleships and so on. So the admiral said to the flagship command, you may fire when ready. They took them all out. And I think there was only one American that was killed. So now he had his coal station. And so then there's one he did. He had spent time, between his first wife died, his mother died suddenly, and really quick. When he was in his 20s, and so he went out to spend half his inheritance in Wyoming, out South Dakota, so when he decided to go to put together for Cuba, he brought in these cowboys and the biggest problem in Cuba was the disease, malaria, and so on. But he did his thing on San Juan Hill, and that so he came back from that, came a short period of time governor of New York. Then he was vice president. People were saying, why would you want to do that? He just wanted to, he thought maybe he could run in 1 more years for president. So, he was the president, but he was a reformer. And he had some sympathies for the Democrats, for the farmers and these people who immigrated and families and so on, and worked in the steel mills. And it was so they
Hey, Dave,
Yeah,
is it safe to say that history tends to repeat itself sometimes, but it seems like in the United States at least, we've been able to persevere among all our pluses and minuses. While something change a lot, something stay the same as well. And there'll always be, monopolies come and go as the technology, advances and changes.
I'm optimistic on that.
I
Let me make this last. Teddy Roosevelt also depended on the Sam McClure's magazine that came out. He started it in 1893, and he'd come out once a month and take on national problems. And Ida Tarbell was never married, was the daughter of her father was in the oil business, in the oil refining business, in competition with John D. Rockefeller. Lost out in that. And so she wrote a book on the Rockefeller, emphasizing all the negatives. And she was McClure's favorite. And starting in 2000 or 1901 or 2, somewhere, for 18 months, one chapter a month. And what happened was, Andy Rockefeller was by 1895, John D. Rockefeller produced 87% of the world's kerosene. And kerosene is the light from lamps.
He went out of business when electricity came out.
What happened was
Yes.
he got sued, and it went to the Supreme Court in 1911 or 12, and they busted him up. But now it's shifted to gasoline, and
Didn't Standard Oil, wasn't that broken up into?
yeah, it was
That
broken
was
up.
basically how they dealt with the
Right,
monopoly?
Yeah. But he still.
Rockefeller was
He-
the richest person ever, right? I mean, even more than Bezos, I think, right?
Well,
Relatively speaking.
We got 5 minutes. You want to open it up to questions and
you can fire your questions.
But did breaking up the company help at all?
There's one more thing I want to talk about.
it's your 5 minutes.
Okay. John D. Rockefeller was born in 1839, and his father was selling patent medicine, ran off and married, so he was a bigamist. Okay. And so John D. at age 16, he's supporting his family. And he took a course in business, but it was accounting. And he sold himself to they were a store. They did wholesale as well as retail as well as wholesale. At age 16, and they didn't have any accounting, so they were getting profitable, and so he went from that. He looked at the oil business, and the refining was where the leverage. But there were so many of them in there that they were. Most of them weren't making any money, a lot more. So he formed a partnership with some of the guys at the principals at the wholesale store, and he went out and established a refining business. And then went out and started buying up. And those that were losing big time, and just pay them off, close them down. And those who were good, give them stock. And so, basically, by the time 90s, he was and so it was really, really important to the United States. I mean, we were 50%, our population was 50% of Great Britain in the 1850s. We were the largest populated and its strongest economy in 1895, and by 1915 we were 50% more. All right, so now
You have 2 minutes, Dave.
okay, fire your questions.
Anybody, questions?
So the upshot is that you expect that we will have a counterpart to Roosevelt's trust busting coming?
What Newt Gingrich has said. We got 40 of 70 in the House and at least 4 in the Senate. So in 2023, they're all going to.
But why would you expect a Republican majority to do something that they have not wanted to do with regard to other companies?
Because it stinks so bad.
Okay.
Okay, it's so bad.
All right, Dave. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.